Hey everyone, I'm so excited that you made it to my YouTube channel. That means if you hear my voice and you see my face, that you made it here, and I'm so excited that you are here. So first of all, I need you to do a few things for me. I need for you to subscribe to my channel. I need you to comment and like and share, please, this video. This particular video is about mental health awareness, and even though it's not Mental Health Awareness Month, I still thought that it would be something that I want to share when it comes to my journey and how I have dealt with different issues when it comes to mental health and mental health awareness for sure. I'm all about, awareness and sharing with people what I have been through. So with that being said, I am not a psychologist nor a psychiatrist. I'm me, and this is my journey through some challenging times. And so my plan is to really share a little bit of information that I learned and then kind of walk you through my journey as well. So again, with that being said, subscribe to my channel, like, comment, share. I really appreciate it. So I for sure thought that it's a great time to talk about mental health. Anytime is a great time to talk about mental health. Let's just be real about the situation, right? It doesn't just necessarily need to be during the month of mental health awareness. And so, so this is why this video is coming about. There is a lot of stuff going on in the world, and I'm not sure if you're anything like me, but just watching all of the devastation and the trauma right now is very heavy and very challenging at times, and triggering also, right? If you even say, I don't watch the news, right? Because I'm a person who doesn't watch the news, but if I scroll at any point through social media, I am still bombarded with news about tragedies and suicides and homicides and just all types of horrible things that are going on in the world. So this is just my little piece when it comes to mental health and mental health awareness, right? So let me just start off with a little bit of information. So mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, it affects how we feel, and it affects how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So a lot of times when we're in a heightened situation, like what I call level orange, it's very challenging to communicate with others. It is also very challenging to make decisions and choices because you are at a level orange. Like almost anything will tip you smooth over. And so that deals with your mental health. Over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, your mood, and your behavior can all be affected. Now, there are many factors to mental health problems, and those include biological factors. So biological factors would be things that are in your brain. This is more like the doctor, MD type of situation, right? So those are like genes that you have and issues in your brain when it comes to like brain chemistry. The other factors are life experiences, so trauma, abuse, PTSD, things of that sort. And then the third one is family history of mental health problems. Mental health problems are common, but there's also a lot of help out there to help us all process through these, and it's available for sure. Ready and available. And at the end, I have some information that I'm kind of excited about that I'm going to share with you all that I'm sure you've heard about as well. But that'll be at the end. Excuse me. So what are some early signs that someone may be struggling when it comes to mental health? Some Now, and this is the thing. Just because someone exhibits these signs does not mean that they are dealing with mental health issues, right? These are just some signs, some red flags that may make you think, this might be something that we can talk about, or I will just check in with this particular person about, right? So some early signs that someone may be dealing with mental health issues are eating or sleeping too much, pulling away from people and your usual activities, having low or no energy, feeling numb or like nothing even matters. Sometimes you may even have unexplained aches and pains. You feel helpless and hopeless. And also some people start to use drugs or smoke and drink way more often than they usually do. Some other early signs are you feel unusually confused, forgetful, you're on edge, you're angry, upset, worried, scared. Also, you're yelling and fighting with your family members, now listen, I'm a mom, I'm a sister. So the typical, back and forth I see, but like the constant fighting and yelling, those are early signs, right? That there may be something underlying that you need to deal with. Also, you experience severe mood swings that may cause issues in your relationships. Some people hear voices and believe that things are not true. They think about harming themselves and others. And another early sign is an inability to perform daily tasks like going to work, taking care of your kids, those things. It's just extremely hard for you to do. So there are so many different types of mental illness. For the sake of my conversation today and my journey, I'm going to talk about what they say like is the most common mental health issue or disorder, which is anxiety. But the top 3 mental health disorders that I did some research on are anxiety disorders, mood disorders, and schizophrenia disorders. Again, just for the sake of this, I'm going to talk about my journey, and my journey deals with anxiety. Right. In anxiety, there's a few things that can possibly happen once you start to feel those feelings of anxiety. Panic disorder, which I'm going to definitely talk about. And then the second one is phobias, when people have, you can have phobias of all types of things. It ranging from spiders to some people have social phobias where it's very challenging for them to be around others, and they those type of situations when you're surrounded with people cause a lot of anxiety because you have a phobia. That's called social phobia as well. And phobias are deeply personal. And of course, doctors don't know every type of phobia. Again, that was just such a broad range of phobias that there's no way that we could even touch upon all of those. Another way that you can show anxiety is through OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. And people with OCD have obsessions and compulsions. What does that mean? That means that they experience constant stressful, constant stressful thoughts, and they have a powerful urge to do repetitive things such as hand washing. And then the last one is PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. A person can have post-traumatic stress disorder after experiencing all types of different events, and it causes them to have stress and trauma attached to those particular events. When you have PTSD, a lot of times people are afraid, or they think that like because of that event, they have issues after the event that stem from that particular event or those particular events. And those are brief, very vague kind of synopsises of the types of anxiety disorders that people have. So now we're going to move into how it is that I got to this video and wanting to share with you what happened. So if you know me in real life, I am a very bubbly, optimistic, positive person, right? That's not just fake, like I'm really goofy and all that great stuff, right? I have over the past years literally gone through certain things that have been completely traumatic and very hard and challenging to process through. But yet God has allowed me the grace to really bounce back, and not on some like not being genuine and honest about my feelings, but really God has allowed me the opportunity to bounce back. And so actually I won't say the last because it's been some time, but during a 10-year period, I went through 5 traumatic events, and I wrote a book about it called If It Ain't One Thing, It's Another. So if ever you want me to come talk about any of that or share with you, hit your girl up for sure. So again, 10 years, 5 traumatic events, and literally it appeared as though I was able to move through them almost effortlessly, is what it appeared to be, right? So those 5 events were, my sister had, I have 2 sisters and a brother, but my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, she ended up having a brain aneurysm, almost lost her life. She was in a coma. That was the first event. My mom was killed by her boyfriend. Then my ex-boyfriend committed suicide. Then my grandmother, who is and has always been the most influential person in my life, passed away unexpectedly. And then during the pandemic, my now ex-husband walked out during the pandemic. So those were the 5 events that I went through, right? But what ended up happening was during that process, I did not really think that I was dealing with mental health issues. I would say that I am a typical African-American woman who deals with things, and then you really don't put too much on other people, and you learn to walk through these traumatic events on your own. And when I say on my own, I have an amazing village, an amazing support system. But there are times when, you as a person don't feel like you want to call on that person, or you don't want to call on these people, you don't want to bother them. So you're really dealing with, your issues, your feelings with you, and having to sit there and really deal with them, right? So for me, what ended up happening was, I think the very beginning of dealing with mental health was when I was with my ex-boyfriend at the time. And rest in peace to my ex-boyfriend, Tyrone. He was such a great guy. He was my first boyfriend when I was in the 9th grade. And then, as some of you may know, that we met back up in our 30s. And then we were in a relationship, right? And so Without, first of all, I want to respect him, but I do want to share a little bit about how I believe this whole mental health journey began, and I began to notice it. So when I was with him, again, he was such a cool guy, very talented musician. Everyone who knows him knows that it was like his hands were gifted by God, because he was just like his hands were anointed, and self-taught, played the keyboard and piano, and just was a dope person, dope artist, dope producer, all the way around, right? But that was the beginning and like the door opening to me seeing exactly like how mental health affects people. And so Tyrone had a lot of loss. He had a lot of grief in his life, and he had a lot of issues that had occurred that he really didn't deal with. And so as a result of those issues, he ended up committing suicide, right? And so it was when I found out that he committed suicide that I struggled. So by the time Tyrone committed suicide, my mom had been killed. My sister had this aneurysm that she actually, so by the time he actually killed himself, my sister had bounced back. She was recovering and things of that sort, right? But what I remember happening the day that I found out was I literally sat in my car for hours and hours, to the point where my cousin was watching me from her shop, and she ended up, I don't know if she called me or called my brother, and somehow I was supposed to be leaving her shop, headed to my grandmother's house, and which was, maybe a 10 or 15 minute drive. But hours had passed and I had not moved. So finally, my brother gets in contact with me, and he asked me if I wanted him to come get me. I said, no, I'll drive. So I drove to my grandmother's house, about 10, 15 minutes. And when I made it to her house, my sister was there, my brother was there, my grandmother was there, and my kids were there. And I remember getting into like the corner of the couch and literally sitting there, like crying and devastated and upset that someone who I had been so close with felt the need to take his own life, right? So I had guilt, and could I have done more? Did I answer his call? Why didn't he call me? Then after I went over the guilt, then I was upset with him. I was angry with him. Like, how could you do something like this? Why would you leave me, to have to deal with all this? And again, at the time that he did this, we were not together, but it really, that really hurt me. And it really bothered me, right? So I dealt with the anger, and then it dawned on me, I'm literally feeling myself fall apart, and couldn't understand how is it that I held it together when I lost my mom, for the most part, held it together when my sister had the aneurysm, but I was falling apart because Tyrone killed himself. And so over the next few months or so, going through the grief process, I ended up going to see a therapist. And when I went to go see the therapist was, basically telling me that these are the types of waves and emotions that you go through after grief, that it's normal, And then he gave me a really good activity to do. The activity was to write a letter to Tyrone to just tell him everything I felt, like unfiltered, unadulterated, just put it all in there. So then I wrote the letter, and then I came back. And then the second time I revised the letter, and it was more polished, I guess you would say, not as raw with my feelings and my emotions. And so I think that began my journey for sure with mental health, and the fact that even me, like I thought, I was exempt because I had literally been through so many different things and came out virtually unscathed, is what I felt like. So after that, which was very challenging, to say the least, what ended up happening was my oldest son started to struggle with anxiety. And it was, for me, very challenging, because to have to watch your child struggle with anxiety and not be able to help them, give them the words, step in there and listen, you don't have to take this on, let me just take it on for you, was so challenging, right? He would have anxiety about going to his school. And that's when I started to find out that there are triggers to your anxiety. His triggers would be literally the ride to school. So on the ride to school, something was going on with him. And when he made it to school, it was level orange, level 10, whatever you want to call it, through the roof all the time. So after trying to figure out how to really support him, thankfully, we were connected with a psychiatrist, and he began to talk through, his issues and things of that sort. And, as a result of that, of course, let me just back up and say this. So again, this is my journey, my story. When we got to psychiatrist, and he was still in school, he was in the 8th grade at the time. It was challenging for me as a parent, because I was trying to make the best decision for him, for the school, to not, and when I say the school, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm making any of my decisions based on the school, by no means. I just wanted it to be a smoother situation, a smoother time for him and his teachers, and for it not to constantly be like a just volcano erupting every time he showed up to school. So the doctor was, talking him through some stuff, and then they wanted to prescribe him some medicine. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he went on the medicine for a short time. Again, if you know anything about my story and my testimony, I am, and I truly believe in the Lord. I also believe in wisdom. I also have wisdom, and I believe that you should use wisdom as well. And I also believe that you should use discernment. So some of the stuff that I do may not necessarily work for you, but it works for me. So with that being said, he ended up starting some anti-anxiety medicine to just kind of calm him, because during this season, he was extremely stressed. Like, you could see the stress on him, and like the fear. And as a parent, I could not, like, it was very challenging, because I couldn't understand, like, why me coming and hugging you or rubbing you or just talking you through it wasn't enough. Oh boy, but would I find out later in my own journey exactly how anxiety attacks you and attacks your mind, right? So thankfully, he got with the psychiatrist. He began to, kind of talk through his feelings and his emotions, and he had words to describe to me how he felt, what made him feel those type of ways, what were his triggers, and things of that sort. And so honestly, right now, and it's been some years that Cam has not had issues with anxiety. Thankfully, the Lord delivered him from anxiety. But with him being autistic, there are other things that come up and things of that sort. But he was able to move through that, right? So then after dealing with him and his anxiety, I began teaching at the school. Shout out to all of my students who I've ever taught, because you have no idea that you have literally been on a journey with me, and that you all have helped me through my healing process. So there was one particular school that I was teaching at, and every single day for an entire year. Let me give you a little backdrop. So there was a 10-year span after my mom was killed before her trial started. And so during this time, I was told that at some point in the next few months or so that the trial would start. But there was so many issues with the trial start date and my mom's ex-boyfriend and all that it just went on and on and on and on, right? But they were telling me, like, be prepared. We're gonna be going to trial soon. So I started teaching at the school. Every single day for the entire school year, I literally would lay in the bed still, like, how am I going to get out of this bed today? Can you imagine the type of stress that feels like, to literally lay in your bed and figure out how are you going to get out of the bed? It sounds, I feel like it even almost sounds like it can't be that hard. No, it absolutely was that hard. And so for me, every day I would lay there. It was like, all right, okay, Ayesha, we're gonna have to get up. And then I would pray, Lord, please, if you can just get me out this bed, get me on my feet, then you and I can do the rest. And the Lord was so gracious and so kind and so loving that he allowed me to get up. And not knowing that every time I showed up to school, that my students, who have always been a very special group of students, it's as though the Lord has ordained us to be together, would always have some kind of funny stories. Most of my students have loved me through the years and want to be around me, so they're giving me all this positive energy, having no idea that I'm struggling to get out of my bed every single morning, right? But hey, Miss Louis, just coming by, checking on me, stopping in at lunch. I'm just the whole going to get lunch for me when they were going off campus. I mean, just amazing support systems, and had no idea. So again, shout out to all of the students I've ever taught. So that was another part of my journey, right? But this is what took the journey into overdrive. So at the beginning of the pandemic, without going into too many details, I found out my youngest son was diagnosed with seizures and epilepsy. He was diagnosed with epilepsy. He started having seizures. So just to give you a little background information, my youngest son is an athlete. He's just like a natural born athlete, right? But his number one sport is football. As long as I have been able to see and have memories of this boy, he has had a football in his hand. Natural athlete. And he's also like a social introvert. He starts having seizures and gets diagnosed with epilepsy. I pulled on God like never before. Because if you've ever seen anyone or known anyone who has had epilepsy, seen anyone have a seizure, it does something to you people. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. It does something. And then for this to be my son, just started having seizures out of nowhere. Then I take him to the hospital, and the doctors have really no answer. So where the seizures coming from, all they could tell me was sleep deprivation. That's it. That's all. He has to have at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep. He needs to be on his medicine. But by the time we figured all of the, the issues out when it comes to his epilepsy, he had several seizures. With epilepsy, it's not necessarily the seizures that cause the injuries. It's all the other surrounding issues. So anyway, needless to say, he is diagnosed with epilepsy, and I'm doing my best. I'm, as a parent, and we're in COVID. So I'm the only person who can be at the hospital with him. I'm in and out the emergency room with him. I mean, he is literally a walking, talking miracle, because there were times that I would be talking to Curtis and all of a sudden his brain would fire off and he would hit the hardwood floor face forward. And with the exception of maybe a couple of like busted lips, he never broke his teeth. He never was injured as far as his head or brain or anything along those lines. I mean, God continuously showed his favor and his grace, even with the situation with the epilepsy in my son. So we're back and forth to the hospital, and they're, trying to figure out what type of meds are going to work for him. I'm at the point where I am literally telling the doctors, I don't care what you all do. I need for you to just stop the seizures, because this is it's way too out of control. Like, it's too much for us to stop the seizures. So as a result of that request, be careful what you ask for. They put him on 3 seizure meds twice a day. 3 seizure meds twice a day, and it caused all types of side effects. So all this is going on, and we're in COVID. And all of a sudden, I start to have major issues. And so thankfully, my doctor, who has been my doctor for years, really was patient and kind and walked me through a lot of this, right? But I began to have issues where when I would lay down, I would start to feel like I kept saying to myself, and I truly believe that words are powerful, right? So just for the sake of me telling this story, I'm going to tell you how this happened. But I would literally lay there in bed and be and say to myself, oh my gosh, I'm having a heart attack. I need to go to the doctor. I need to go to the emergency room. And so during this time, I'm working out. Excuse me. So I'm working out. I'm laying there saying oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. Jumping up, just out of nowhere. Call my doctor. Mind you, again, it's COVID. So every time I would call my doctor, she plans the video visits. She's on the phone with me. She's emailing me. I'm emailing her. She's going through all types of, I'm requesting all types of tests. I need an EKG because I need to check my heart. At this point, I'm checking my heart through my Apple Watch. I'm working out. I'm just checking myself I'm having a heart attack. I know that's what's going on. And my doctor's like, you're not having a heart attack. So this goes on for probably 2 to 3 months, right? And then what would happen with me as I'm laying down was I would jump up. And I'm like, oh God, I can't breathe. I have to go oh goodness. What? So for me, this is very challenging because this is not my personality whatsoever, right? I am consistently bubbly and optimistic, ready to go. Hey, but y'all, I'm really struggling in my mind, for real, having a hard time processing all of this. And so after months of video visits, this last time I called my doctor and I was like, listen, I'm not sure what's going on. I know I've done the EKG. She had even went so far as to order for me to have an EKG where you're on the treadmill, right? Doing blood work. I mean, you name it, she literally went down whatever rabbit hole that I felt like I wanted to go down. But she would consistently tell me that you're not having a heart attack, Ayesha. You need to really get control of your mind. And I was like, my mind? Like, that's not what it is. You need to check you need to check me. I need to take some tests. That's what I need to do. So the very last time that I dealt with her, when it really came to anxiety, I called my doctor and I said, listen, I don't know what's going on, but you need to see me today. Like, I know it's COVID. I said, you got to see me today. I don't have any openings today, but I am going to let you see one of my really close associates. I said, okay, please let her know that I'm coming. And I need something. She needs to give me some kind of a pill. We need to run some kind of test and the whole nine, right? So my doctor's like, we've run all the tests. She's like, I don't really know what you want me to do, Ayesha. I don't care. I want you to know that something's going on with me. So figure it out. So I show up to my appointment in person during COVID. Go to the doctor and we're talking. And she's basically saying, your doctor has told me all about you. She was like, what are you here for? I said, I'm here because I'm having a heart attack. Like, I feel like I'm having a heart attack, and she's not taking me serious. So of course the doctor's already prepped. I've ran through everything. I've looked at all your tests. Everything looks good. She said, do you want me to schedule to have another EKG done? And I was like, I don't care what you need to do. You just need to figure it out. Something's going on. She then says to me, oh, okay. And she's trying to talk me through this, basically saying that your mind is a very powerful thing. People don't really think that it is, and that your mind can make you think that you're having a heart attack, but it's really a panic attack. And your heart is perfectly fine, right? She said, your doctor and I have no problem with running the test. She said, at this point, I don't even have a problem with prescribing you some medicine. But what I'm telling you is that the medicine will have no effect on your anxiety. It's called the placebo effect. Have you ever heard of it? I said, Doc, I don't know what you're talking about. This is how I normally talk to people. Doc, what are you talking about? The placebo effect. She said, basically, because you're coming in here telling me that you're having a heart attack and you need something prescribed to you to stop the heart attacks, I can prescribe to you medicine. The medicine has no effect on your heart attack, but because I'm telling you that I'm prescribing this medicine to you, in your mind, you think that it is really attacking the issue at hand, and so it'll stop. I said, wait, Doc, so bring it in. Bring it a little closer. So you're trying to tell me that this is my mind? She said, yes, Ayesha, we've been trying to tell you this for months. The best thing for you to do right now is, if you don't want me to prescribe you any medicine for the anxiety, or if you don't want me to prescribe you any medicine to help with your heart attack that you're having every day in your mind. She said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get the Calm app. I said, oh, I already have a Calm app. She said, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I need for you to go on the Calm app when you start to feel these type of issues. Again, I'm going to say this to you. We're not trying to like downplay anything that's going on with you, but it's your mind. It's not your body. And because your mind has you so wrapped into thinking this, you're thinking that your body is reacting. And just get control of your mind. I was like, Doc, I can't. Listen, you trying to play me, okay? You tell me about the placebo effect. You talking about you gonna, prescribe some medicine. What are you talking about? Make this make sense. It doesn't make sense to me whatsoever. She says, just do that for 2 weeks. And if you do it for 2 weeks and you still feel the same way, then come back and we'll order the EKG and we'll start the whole process again. I said, all right, bet. So, needless to say, I would lay there. I would feel a type of way. I would open up the Calm app. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I would feel like, Ayesha, what is wrong? Like, get control of your mind. I kept talking to myself. Get control of your mind. How in the world did you allow your mind to just take over? What is going on, right? Again, this is my journey. It works for me. It may not work for you, but this is what worked for me. We're a week into it. And I would get on 5 a.m. prayer at my church. And I was like stalking the prayer line because I wouldn't say anything, but I was always on there and I would listen. This one particular day. And I'm going to be honest, like as I'm going through this, I'm praying and I'm like, Lord, you know, what is going on? Please help me through this. Because he's not answering when I feel like he should be quickly. I was just like, you know, it's a heart attack. Like, I'm tripping. They're tripping. I'm not tripping. I'm having a heart attack. I get on 5 a.m. prayer. And the person who was leading prayer specifically began to talk about people who have anxiety. You don't want to call it that. You know, you want to say it's other things. It was so powerful, so profound, as though she was talking directly to me, right? And again, I told you guys I was stalking the 5 a.m. prayer line. So they knew I was on there, but I wasn't really, I never really said anything. So as she began to minister to those who are struggling with anxiety, even hold it together, because it was as though God, he heard my prayer, he answered my prayer, and he sent the woman of God to encourage me, right? In that moment, she began to pray. I was having a breakthrough in that moment. Got off of prayer, ended up reaching out to her saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You know, you were talking directly to me. I feel definitely set free. Like, I felt set free from the bondage of anxiety on that call. I can't even explain it whatsoever at all. Again, everything doesn't necessarily work for everyone. For me, there have been times where I do believe that God has allowed certain things to happen. And as a result of them happening, then it's, for me, it's my time to really press into God, try to learn the lesson, and then really to hear from God what the next move is. So again, that could be, hey, you need to take this medicine. Hey, you might need to go see a therapist. Hey, take your son out of that school. Hey, turn that off. You know, don't watch certain things. Has been what has worked for me, right? Different seasons of my life, I've gone to therapy to help process through several things, right? One season I went through was after Tyrone's death, not knowing that there were other things attached to, you know, his death and the grieving process. I also went through a season of therapy after, well, actually it was during my marriage, and then I continued it after my marriage for a short time to just process. I've never been a wife, and now this is my first time going through a divorce. So let me process through this and figure this out, see if there's any residual issues, you know, along with that, so that when I move into my next relationship, I don't bring that with me. So those are a few times when I have had therapy. I'm not in therapy right now, but if I need to get into it, if I feel like, you know, this is something that, listen, the Lord will talk to me and tell me and drag me, if need be, to therapy for sure. That is a little bit about my journey when it comes to mental health and some of the issues that I've had to deal with. What I wanted to do before I got off of this video is to give you some encouragement as well. I want to give you encouragement based on what I know, which is scripture, right? There's definitely that scripture, and I am not a theologian whatsoever. Times in my life, seasons where I have literally had to snatch my mind and pull it together. I mean, fast, quick, and in a hurry. Now, what I've also done is I've learned to really talk to God and to allow Him to pour into me, so that I know that when I hear certain things that are not in line with the Word of God and what God has promised me and what He said about me, that I can speak back to it, right? So there's a few scriptures that I just want to leave you with before I go. Thank you all so much for listening to my journey and my testimony when it comes to mental health. I cannot wait to read the comments. And if you want to even DM me on Instagram, my Instagram is at Ayesha, AYESHA LOUIS. I welcome all of that. Welcome all the feedback. And, you know, if you have any questions, you just want to ask me if there's something I said and you definitely want to like, well, what does that mean? Or could you elaborate a little bit more? But I've been on here for 50 minutes, so I'm trying to taper it down. This is my journey. And what I will say is this: if it does not align with the Word of God, scriptures that are written, then it's not true. Period. There's a few scriptures that I want to share with you and leave with you before we go. And the first one is 2 Corinthians 10:5. This is out the English Standard Version. It says, "We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ." So for me, it was, Ayesha, you know that you have no control whatsoever over Curtis and epilepsy. There's nothing literally that I can do. Before he was even born, I prayed and prayed and prayed for him. And so at this point, I have to step back and allow God to be God and to do exactly what it is that He is going to do in his life. So grab a hold of your mind and allow God to be God and stop trying to be his assistant. Back up. That's what I took from that particular scripture, right? And to also really take control of the narrative that you say to yourself when it comes to things that are going on. Life experiences, consequences to bad decisions, right? You know, for me, I just, as an example, I could just give you an example. You know, my husband left me, so you know, I must be a bad person. My son has epilepsy, I'm a bad mom. And really begin to tell myself those things. And they start to really resonate in my life. But they are far from the truth. The truth of the matter is that my son has epilepsy, and that does not have any bearing on me as a parent. The truth of the matter is my husband did leave. That was his issue. That was not my issue. And, you know, any of the other things that we can tell ourselves that are negative and bad and that start to take root into our lives. The other thing that I'm big on is speaking positivity and how important that is. And so another scripture is Proverbs 18:21. The English Standard Version says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Now there's another translation from the Passion Translation that I like. "Your words are so powerful that they will kill or give life, and the talkative person will reap the consequences." So how important is it for us to speak to those situations? When I start to lay in my bed and feel anxiety, and that's what I'm going to call it, I start to feel that like warmth on the inside, I literally will lay there and say, I will live and not die. First of all, God has shown me certain things that I have not seen. So that means that if I haven't seen them and they haven't come to pass, God is not a liar. I will live and not die. Period. I say that constantly to myself. Just because I am delivered does not mean that it won't come up every once in a while and rev itself up. That's my belief, right? That there may be some people who get completely delivered. They never see it. They never feel it. It's just gone, like, period. But for me, what has happened is every once in a while it comes up because I'm flesh, I'm human, I'm real. I have to speak to it. I will live and not die. Period. The last scripture that I wanted to leave with you is Philippians chapter 4, 6 through 7. This is the Passion Translation. It says, don't be pulled in different directions or worried about a thing. Be saturated in prayer throughout each day, offering your faith-filled requests before God with overflowing gratitude. Tell him every detail of your life. Then God's wonderful peace that transcends human understanding will make the answers known to you through Christ Jesus. That right there, drop the mic. Do you understand me? First of all, you're being pulled in all type of different directions from different things. And some of this stuff don't have nothing to do with you. You just then got yourself all wrapped up in some shenanigans and involved in some stuff. Let it go. Don't worry about a thing. Make sure that you're saturated in prayer. I do believe in prayer, for sure. And I may not necessarily pray the right prayer. I'm telling you what your girl knows how to do is she knows how to call on her Abba Father, for sure. For sure about that. And then sometimes when I can't even get a word out, I know who to call on him for me, to be honest. It's been rough. And so I've had to call on people to stand in the gap and intercede on my behalf. And then, yes, God is God, right? But he wants to have a relationship with us. So tell him about those issues. Tell him about those times that you're feeling that warmth on the inside and you just, I can't, something triggered. I'm watching a show, I'm watching a commercial, and something begins to trigger within me. Talk to him about it. Tell him all about it. He is God. He can literally handle all of our issues and our situations. So those are my encouraging scriptures for you. God gives us a shalom peace, right? The protection of our hearts, our mind from anxiety, fear, and doubt. I am a witness that he literally has covered me with his shalom. I didn't know what that was at first until I began to really walk this thing out called life, and different things started to happen to me. So you just call on God for his shalom. And when you're feeling boggled down and you are feeling anxious and you're feeling like you can't go on, I promise you, if you call on him, he'll answer. And then I want to leave you with a few practical tips. Just simple, practical tips to help you with anxiety that have helped me. When there are issues that are going on, deal with it. Don't just bottle your issues in. Don't just, it's just going to be okay. Talk them through. Write them through. And even talking to yourself, talking it out loud, God hears you. But don't bottle it in. Get it out. Make sure that you take care of yourself. Listen to music. Get outside. Drink water. Exercise. Like things that are going to get you either moving and motivated and up or relaxing. Download the Calm app. It works. It worked for me, for sure. Get some rest. A lot of times people struggle with sleep, insomnia, and things of that sort. And it's because your mind is just constantly going, right? Get some rest, because I promise you, whatever it is will be waiting for you when you wake up in the morning. So go to sleep on it. It is what it is. Stop owning what's not yours. If it doesn't involve you, your spouse, your children, listen to what people have to say if that's what you want to do. If you want to be that listening ear, that's fine. But ask God to allow you to listen and to move on. Don't take all that stuff in. Don't hold it in. And if it's too much to listen, then don't. Say no. And then lastly, live each day to the fullest. I mean, like it's your last. Have fun, laugh, smile, buy yourself something, enjoy just life, because there are so many negative things pulling and vying for our attention that the least we could do is just let that stuff go and like really live. Live out your purpose. Live out your life. I'm talking about big, bold, all that great stuff, right? So those are my practical tools. Not sure if you guys have heard, but they just launched something that's very helpful, which is that you can dial 988 from any phone. If you're having a mental health crisis, you need somebody to talk to, those things to just kind of process through, you can dial 988 from your phone. And you will get through to therapists that can talk you through this stuff. Listen, I'm so excited. I went much longer than I expected. My next plan is to try to keep it at 30, 45 minutes. But with that being said, don't forget, subscribe to my channel, share, comment, like, send your girl a message. Let me know what you think about the show, about this episode, about mental health. Any questions? I am definitely a person who likes to connect people. So whatever I can do to connect you with, resources and things of that sort, hit me up, let me know for sure. Again, or check me out on my website, www.ayeshalouis.com. Hit me up on Instagram. I love you all so much. Thank you for checking me out. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you on the next episode.